everyone, and welcome to another episode of Mind, Body, and Roots. Today I have the awesome Bonsa Mara, also known as Bonsa. He's a 27-year-old dental resident. He's currently at the VA in New York City. I will let him introduce himself. He does a lot of things. He does content creation. He does running. I mean, this guy is an absolute monster. Hey, Bonsa, without further ado, please go right ahead, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the kind introduction, man. My name is Bonsa. I'm 27 years old. Like Ahat said, I'm a dentist and content creator in New York, and I'm super excited to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
Hey, man, absolutely, absolutely. It's my pleasure, dude. So, kind of tell me about yourself, Bonsa. Like, we've introduced you, but where did it all begin? Like, I know you went to the University of Maryland, but what made you become a dentist, and then what allowed you to pivot into content creation and all the other stuff?
Yeah, dude. So for me, so I'm originally from Ethiopia in terms of like my early roots. So I was born in Ethiopia. I lived in Arkansas for some time, and then went to undergrad in St. Louis, and ended up at University of Maryland pursuing dentistry. And in terms of why I pursued dentistry, it's kind of an interesting mixture. Like I was always into healthcare, but I've had the same childhood dentist since I was about like 7 years old. And for me, like I loved it. Like I loved my dentist, and his name's Dr. Skinner. So shout out to Dr. Skinner. But he was like a constant, figure in my life. And there was even like this moment where I remember where he treated my grandparents when they came from Ethiopia. And that's like pretty special. But yeah, I mean, when I went into undergrad, I was always like half pre-med, half pre-dental. And I had a cousin who was a dentist, or he was in dental school at the time. And he was always kind of whispering in my ear, saying like, you should do dentistry. It's like got all the, the benefits of medicine with like a lot more flexibility. And honestly, like 6 months before I graduated from WashU, I like switched, which was just like crazy. But it was the best decision I ever made. Like I think dentistry is so much better than medicine. So I'll give you a clip to make the medical doctors unhappy. But yeah, I mean, for me, it was always healthcare and nothing for the longest. And then in dental school, that's kind of when I started the content creation journey. I was really kind of documenting it through a podcast I had called Story Dental, as well as just kind of documenting my journey as a dental student. And that's kind of where I found my love for, kind of storytelling and sharing what my life looked like at the time. And, since then things have transpired, but I think that's like one of the greatest parts of dentistry. It has always been like storytelling and talking to patients. So everything's pretty consistent when it comes to that.
Yeah, dude, honestly, like storytelling is like very interesting because I think that's how you pass down lessons
Yeah.
and different experiences and shared experiences, and that's where people can learn from. And I just don't think it gets done often. I think there is a trend that it's starting to pick up a little bit, but I don't know if it's coming from a genuine place necessarily. I think people do it for like the followers and the views and the sponsorships. For the most part, that's my observation. Storytelling itself, I think, is done well, but by only a few group of people, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's not easy. I think that with storytelling, it's like depends on what you're saying, but it's like something internal, and I think you have to do a lot of the internal work to kind of figure out, why you are where you are in your life, or why you kind of gravitate towards certain people or certain things. And so, yeah, I mean, with social media, like storytelling now has become a great way for companies to distribute their products. I think behind all that, it's like, it's still really cool to be able to have like a platform where you can just tell the world like why you're into what you're into, and it's beautiful, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Bonza, you had that podcast.
Yeah.
Can you explain why you decided to pivot away from it? What was the reasoning behind it? What kind of took you away from it?
Yeah. So my podcast was called Story Dental, and I started it my third year of dental school. And the idea is that I always thought that the story behind clinicians was far more interesting than the actual clinical work. Like I thought like, everyone is a dentist. Like I remember we used to always hear that like your patients don't really know the difference of dental care for the most part. And so for me, it was always like, the way you really resonate with people is kind of understanding where your clinician's from. And if they look like you and they come from places like you and you hear their story, it's really powerful. And so, yeah, I did that for about a year, and that was pretty consistent. And I got to platform a lot of my classmates and hear their stories, and some of it was doing well. But for me, it was interesting. It kind of happened at this period where I was entering clinic and it was getting a little hectic, and I continued, but then I went towards graduation. And I kind of fell off of it. But for me, it was like I hit this crossroad where I was like, I really love storytelling, but it feels really constricted that I can only do it within the lens of dentistry. I mean, it was called Story Dental. And often I kind of struggled. I remember even behind the scenes, I would be like, man, it's like, I always had to bring the conversation to dentistry. And for a lot of my classmates, it was great because when they came on their dentistry was their life for the most part, and that was kind of like the thing that they were always building towards. But
Hmm.
for me, I always felt like there was more, and so I was like, I don't necessarily know if I'm the right person to be hosting this when I kind of want to talk about things that have nothing to do with dentistry. And so ultimately, I kind of decided to stop it. And I think too, like I was graduating dental school. You have to make plans for these things, you know. It's like you kind of have to like, what does it look like afterwards? Does it become a podcast where I bring on residents? Does it become a podcast where I bring on other actual practicing dentists? And for me, I was like, I wasn't invested enough in it to continue to lay down the groundwork of what it looked like 2 to 3 years, despite the fact that it was really fun. And, some clips were doing well, but just wasn't the right person for that job, I don't believe.
Hmm. That makes sense, actually. I mean, listen, you did it for the time, you gave it a try, didn't work for you, and that's okay. I think
Yeah.
that's the big thing, man. Like, people sometimes do things for a long time, and out of fear, they don't want to pivot. But I
Hmm.
think pivoting is one of the most important skills we can do in life, whether it's dentistry, medicine, business. If you're not able to pivot and pivot fast, then you'll always just be second nature, in my opinion. Like, you'll just fall second or short of what you really want to achieve.
Yeah, and I think there's a big pressure. I think one thing that stops a lot of people from trying different things or even
Hmm.
pivoting is this feeling that once you announce you're doing something and once you start it, you're kind of bound to it. But the
Hmm.
beauty of life is that it's really short and that you should
Yeah.
try a lot of things. And the minute that you feel that they're not serving you, and by the way, I'm someone that's like very strict and like regimented. So I'm not saying just jump around from things. I'm saying like once you give things an honest effort, and it could even be working, it could be making you money, it could be whatever. But if it doesn't fulfill you and you don't think that you can bring value to the world in that way, then there's no reason for you to do it. So I always tell people, I'm like, dude, just do it now because you might have spent 5 years thinking this thing was for you. On the sixth year, you finally try it and then you hate it. It's like you just wasted 6 years. You could have been pursuing what you were really supposed to do in those 6 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the biggest thing is like being regimented, trying it for like an extended period of time, give it time to grow.
Yeah.
And if you still feel like after that growth period you don't really enjoy it, then it might be time to pivot. I think it's a good sign, you know.
Yeah, dude.
But don't just pivot aimlessly, like you said. Find something that is an area of interest. And I think it was the Angela Duckworth book, Grit, that talked about it. It was about sticking through with things, but the only way that you could continue on that path of grit was to find something just as hard or equally hard,
Hmm.
just as hard or even harder, and have that as your backup. So if you quit something, you go jump right into it. You don't just quit and then not do anything, because then that defeats the purpose.
I love that. That's actually really good because oftentimes there's like this mourning period when you stop something and if something else is an emotion, you
Hmm.
kind of it's like if you're not in motion, you're just regressing. So I really like that. That's kind of
Yeah.
profound to have something. It's even the same way. It's like it's like when you're exiting something, it's like you should kind of start building the blocks of something else so that you to get back to it. So that's really dope. What's that book called?
Grit
Great. Good. Okay. I'll have
by
to read
Angela
that.
Duckworth. It's a phenomenal book. I read it a couple years ago. I actually need to revisit it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'll send you a copy. I have some. It's a really good read, but yeah, that was a book that changed the way I think about things, especially like adding procedures in dentistry. Like, there was a
Mm.
point in my life where I actually hated taking out wisdom teeth. Like,
Hmm.
even though I'd done them in residency, I was like, ah, man, am I really gonna do it again? And then my current owner was like, dude, just do them. Like, just try it. Like, the worst thing that's gonna happen is, you might mess up the tissue, you might mess up, something here or there. But if you don't try it and you don't case select carefully,
Mm.
then you'll always be afraid. Now I do
Yeah.
them for fun. Now, I mean,
Yeah.
the only thing I don't probably hit up is too much is horizontals because they're still kind of annoying. But for the most part, like distoangulars, I'll do them if they're not too distoangulars, some mesioangulars. But I hate horizontals, and I know that's something that I'm not comfortable with. But I'll do it, because a good surgeon, like especially implants and where I plan to go with my career, I have to be okay with seeing the sinus and opening up flaps. And at one point in my life when I first started, I was scared, man. I was like, man, this is like OS. But you know what? The worst is you really can't kill anyone in dentistry. I mean, unless you really do something horrendous,
Yeah.
but you just go out and do it and you keep doing it and keep doing it until you're like, okay, now I know what to do. For most cases, it works. Occasionally, you'll have some weird anatomical variant or you'll make a mistake here or there. It's okay. It's called a practice of dentistry. That's why everything in life is a practice. You truly don't become a master of anything. I think, in my opinion, I think you just get very good that to others it looks like you're a master, but it
Yeah.
just comes to you seamless because you've put in hours. Like look at Kobe, for example, look at LeBron. For them, it's just practice. Same day, different story. But
Yeah.
for us, it looks like, wow, it's seamless. It's just the amount of hours and the effort they've put in.
Do you back to the wisdom teeth extractions? Were there moments where, when you finally made that leap after you had that conversation with the owner and you failed, like you had a failed attempt and maybe something went wrong? Is there like,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was like, dude, I'm stuck here. What do I do? And he's like, all right, just open it up a little bit more, take away some bone here, take this instrument, pluck it out. Dude, it happened like 4 or 5 times.
yeah,
I'm open to making, like, telling people I have mistakes because I think, and I wouldn't even call them mistakes, they're learning lessons. Mistakes is a very harsh, negative word, in my opinion. I think they're learning lessons. You will make learning lessons in your life. If you don't, then what's the point of the practice of dentistry? What's the point of being a human?
yeah. And it's interesting you say the practice of dentistry. I think like I heard that term or that like idea kind of like a year ago. And it was so interesting to me because I was like, that's what it is, right? I mean, that's what it's been for me up to this point. That's what it'll continue to be, especially with dental school and residency. And one thing that I love is like, I actually like telling my patients I don't know now. Like there's this, his name's Dr. Mike. And it's like the reason like, healthcare workers aren't humanized is because oftentimes like we think it's not okay for us to say, I don't know. And it's the reality is I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I found myself in a world of trouble early on because I was over promising and under delivering
Yeah.
with my limited skill set because I never wanted to look at the patient in the eye and tell them no. I didn't want to tell them that we can't get that crown back before your wedding
Yeah.
or we can't do this. And so I would set these unrealistic expectations because I knew in their eyes it was like you got to get that job done. Like that's your job. So to hear you say that, you still had moments where you failed after that, after you had that conversation. It's good. People need to hear that, man, because it can be difficult when the people in your chair expect you to be like Superman. It's like I'm not Clark Kent.
Absolutely, man. And I think the biggest thing is like I see this, and I was having a conversation with my buddy yesterday. He's a dentist too, in the same company, and we were just talking about older dentists and even colleagues our own age. Like they, and I don't know if you see this or you spend time on this. I don't try to spend time on it. I just when I'm like looking through social media real quick, I'll do it on the weekends. I don't use social media on the weekdays. Just something that I've always done. But whenever I have like an hour, I'll just look through like people putting anonymous cases like, oh, I could have done this better. Any feedback? Or, oh, my associate dentist did this work. Is this clinically acceptable? And like there's so many negative comments and all of this. And I've never, maybe one comment in like the hundreds of comments I see, hey, it's just life. You don't know what that patient's like. Is it tongue space, limited space? Were they tired that day? Were they going through something? It's like whenever we see the bite wing or the PA or the intraoral or the photography, we never for a second think and look back at the humanization of the field. And it's like, well, that margin's unacceptable and all that. And my question is very straightforward to them. I've never said anything because honestly, I don't want to be flamed by a bunch of 50-year-olds. I just think they have way too much time if they're commenting on Facebook. But the reality is that you should ask, but did the patient die? If not, then what does it matter? Okay, it might give them a little bit less time with that crown or that tooth. Okay, and we've developed things like implants. We have bridges. We have removable things. If at the worst case that tooth goes bad or root canals. Yes, should we do our best? Should we not harm someone? Absolutely. That is the Hippocratic Oath. We take that. But as long as we've done our best in that moment, not every single day is going to be the same level of best, then no one should really truly judge you for that. And I think that that's something that needs to change in dentistry. But I have other thoughts on things that need to change in dentistry too. That's just one of
Yeah.
them.
No, I mean, I think you're touching on an important point, right? I think it's like it starts with internally first. It's like when there's empathy amongst colleagues, and because we all know, like you said, it's like you don't know was there previous restorative work done, and you're doing the patchwork, and then is the patient, difficult to work with. So, I mean, that was one of the best pieces of advice that I got from a doctor in dental school. He told us, he was like, never speak on another clinician's work. There's just no reason not to. I mean, one, it's like, why would a patient want to hear that? And then two, you want to have empathy because we've all had a patient in the chair where we were just like, it's everyone's not
Yeah,
the easiest to deal with. So,
definitely not the easiest thing.
yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, it's just interesting. Regardless, besides the little tangent we had, so you're really into running. I know that you do a
Mhm.
lot of marathons, I think, and half marathons as well. I've seen. So, what got you into running? Like, I actually know the path that you run. Is it the path to the Brooklyn Bridge? Like you run on that? that area.
Sometimes, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, into the
I
west
used to
side.
run there. That's why. Like I used to take
Yeah.
because I used to live in Stuyvesant Town.
Hmm.
I used to run from like the Williamsburg Bridge all the way down to the Brooklyn Bridge and
Yeah,
back up so far. So I was like, oh, I know where that is.
that looks
But
familiar.
how did you get into that?
Yeah, it was actually in dental school as well.
Mm-hmm.
It was about. I mean, I ran track and field in high school and middle school,
Mm-hmm.
and I was always kind of somewhat of a distance runner. I'm Ethiopian, so I think it's just inherently, I'm probably genetically like inclined to do that. But it was in dental school. Me and my roommate, my best friend, we had taken a couple trips to New York. And at the time, running was starting to kind of bubble. And I always did it on and off because I did it in high school. And then it's like, we just had this moment where we were like, man, we were in New York and we had run like the most we'd ever run. I think it was like 7 miles. And I had a friend sign up for a marathon in dental school. And I was like, let's just do it. Like, I'm gonna do it. Like, I knew this guy and I was like, I'm just gonna do it. And I literally signed up for it on a whim. And then I ran. And for me, it was like the greatest stabilizer during dental school. Like, people would think I was crazy. I'd be running like 17 miles before clinic on like a Tuesday and then see patients. And it was like, for me, it was just so great because it's like I had this mission outside of just getting my dental degree. And I think I attribute a lot of my like curiosity about a lot of things in life to running, because it was the first time where I had done this thing where people had said that it was supposed to be like, like 3% of people do it. It's this impossible thing. And I did it. And I was like, okay, like what else are they saying is hard out here that I should try? And so running for me, man, it's a physical exercise, but it's completely transformed who I am, like mentally, emotionally. It's the greatest thing ever, quite honestly.
Very, very interesting. I actually now hate running. I still do it, but I hate it.
Yeah, no, I
It's
mean,
more of like it's a chore for me.
and it can be a chore, by the way. It can be a chore. I think you need a mission. I always tell people, like, if you're running aimlessly, like, I hate running right now because I'm running aimlessly. But I signed up for another marathon, and I know when that
Hmm.
time comes that I just get into that zone, because it's like, once you have a mission, you'll go run if you just open up a book and it tells you what to do.
I think that's the biggest thing. It's like I just run to stay fit, but I don't have a mission, and that's the biggest
Sure.
thing. Maybe I gotta change that aspect and maybe I'll fall in love with it again. I just enjoyed the views in New York City, man. It was just
Yeah.
you get to see the Brooklyn Bridge, you get to cross it, go get some pizza if that's what you want to do. You
Yeah.
come back and it's like it's great. I mean, I miss the city, man. It was a good couple of years.
New York is amazing, man. It's the running culture here is everything. So
Yeah,
it's
it
the best
really
thing
is.
ever.
Yeah, absolutely. But besides all of that, now you also do content creation, you work with a couple sponsors and all that. So tell me a little bit about that space. What have you found to be difficult about that space? What have you enjoyed about that space? And what is the most, I would say, your best piece of advice for someone that wants to get into that space?
Sure, yeah. So I'll start with the first question, which I think was like, what have I found about that space? So, yeah, like I said, my introduction into it was with dentistry initially. So I was what you would call like a dental content creator, I would say, for the
Okay.
first year. And, for me at the time, I've always been very into content creation. Like, I was like a YouTube kid. I grew up watching like YouTubers like Shane Dawson, like these guys who, were essentially just impacting the world from like their living room. And I always thought it was the coolest thing. And so what I always tell people is like, it is incredibly easy to consume. It's much harder than you think it is to create, which is why you'll have a lot of people start and stop, start and stop. And for me, I've just always had a curiosity about it. Like, I'm very business minded. I've always kind of treated my content like a business. I'm very intentional about it. Like, I post with a certain cadence. I have metrics that I look at. And so for me, it's always been this thing that I wanted to grow on. And in the beginning, it was just fun. I mean, I kind of had an idea of what it was. I was too into what was working at the time, trying to emulate whatever I saw on my feed, much like everyone else, and just thinking that it was going to be this super easy thing. But luckily for me, like I said, I had that curiosity and I stuck around long enough, because most things in life is just about staying on the treadmill long enough until you get lucky. And I developed skill sets. And, since moving to New York, especially, I made a heavy shift. Like, I stopped making dental content, I would say, like right when I finished dental school. It's a very intentional decision because, one, again, I just realized that while dentistry is a chapter in my life, while it's a part of who I am, it's not the sole driver for what I believe I'm here to do. And so my content changed. It became much more lifestyle, much more storytelling, sharing stories about whatever, like the origins of coffee, being from my country, or like going on these runs and documenting my marathon and sharing these things. And since then, it's just been this nonstop pursuit of trying to solve this puzzle, which some days it is about the vanity metric of trying to gain followers. Some days it's trying to figure out how to work on articulating your voice to where your page really represents who you are. And then, of course, it's very lucrative. I mean, I love talking about it as an economy. I mean, it is an economy. It is a $250 billion economy. It has trumped TV. It's, like marketing is dead. Influencer marketing is what's working. And I think that it's only going to get bigger. And I feel so privileged to be able to work with so many huge brands that I would have never imagined that I would have worked with. And I just think it's the coolest thing in the world to be able to have the trust of like legacy brands and be able to share your story, but also their products and just build, man. I mean, it's just incredible. I'm very passionate about it. I know for some people, it might just be like a means to just post something and see if you get some likes. But for me, it's like, it's an economy. And I think that there are so many participants in it. There's so much room for many more participants. So the other question was like, what would my advice be for someone who wants to get into it? And I would say just that, like, you have to have a genuine curiosity. It is a skill set. It is essentially with content, what you're doing is you are figuring out what it is that drives you. If you're someone who wants to be entertaining on there, you're constantly iterating. You're trying to figure out what works. You're going back to the drawing board. I made this video yesterday and it was like how to make viral videos, but it was really like how to select good ideas. It makes you have taste for what's funny, what works, and it makes you kind of work on your delivery of your messaging, all these different things. So I would just say, one, just start. I hate when people tell me their grand plans of how they're going to do it. No one cares about grand plans. We just need proof of concept, and then stay curious. And if you do that, you might get lucky and it might work. I mean, some of this shit is luck, but I think a lot of it is like, if you're just willing to just continue to work obsessively, and I'll always be here ready to outwork whoever. So they're more than welcome to come.
Yeah, that's some good advice. And I think, one thing that I think you do very well, and I don't know if you heard of the adage, basically it's, uh, instead of, ready, set, fire, it's set, fire, and then reset.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you just set a goal, you don't think about it too much, you fire, and then you readjust.
Yeah.
A lot of people get caught in trying to get it right and perfect the first time. You're never going to get it perfect, ever.
Yeah. It's the truth. I mean, and that comes with a lack of experience, because
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people, when you're a beginner in something, you overvalue your idea. You think that it's the idea. You think that this is the podcast episode. You think that this is
Mm-hmm.
the product. But the reality is you need feedback. And so if you can just treat ideas like opportunities as opposed to like exits, then like it's beautiful. Then you get to just see if it works. And if it doesn't, and you care enough, you'll come back and do it, and you'll do it and do it and do it. But that's normal. I always tell people, like, don't be hard on yourself in the beginning. I did all that same stuff. I still do those things. I still think that videos are going to be the ones and they don't do well. I still, spend too much time on an idea when I should just fire it. That's just the reality of it. But you become comfortable with that. Your capacity for the process becomes greater. And it's great, man. I mean, I think for a lot of people, one thing that's difficult for them to understand is how it seems like this little thing, but it's making so much money. Like we talk
Mm-hmm.
about a $250 billion. Like, what economies are worth $300 billion? It's not like dentistry is not worth $300 billion. So again, but it's like, you will, if you take things serious in life, they will result in serious outcomes. That's always my advice. Like, if it's a joke to you, it'll be a joke. But that's what the outcome will be. Yeah.
It's your attitude going in. Your attitude going in is what's going to be put out. That's the concept.
100%. And it's a beautiful connector. I mean, it's how me and you connected. Do you know what I mean? It's like, for me, it made the dental world smaller. Like, it has connected me with so many people in New York who are working my industry. And I've been able to learn more about them. And that's powerful. It's very addictive. And there's a lot of negatives with it. Don't get me wrong. But, the technology, it acts in the way that you use it. So that's to your discernment.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Bonza, what's next for you? So you said, you kind of hinted that dentistry might not be your final calling. Where do you see yourself in 5, 10 years? Like, what is really not pursuit of happiness, but what is your next serious pursuit in life?
Sure. Yeah, dude. I still am going to work in dentistry. I will never not be a dentist, I don't think. Maybe at some point. I will continue to scale back within the years. And the reason I'll be scaling back is because, for me, content isn't the end goal. I don't necessarily want to become an influencer. My goal is to continue to accrue the capital from there and build a company with my sister. Like I want to build something that can really impact people and be valuable to people far more than just like something that's like entertaining to you or educational to you. That's powerful. Don't get me wrong. It's the way that we learn today. But I want to physically make changes in the world. And for me specifically, ironically, it's just that. It's the fact that it has to do with pivoting. It's I
Mm.
wanted to create a company, a business that helps people essentially pivot and exit from careers that they believe no longer serve them, or begin doing something that they really want to do. Because I think that one of the greatest like atrocious like failures of like human experiences that a lot of people continue to work jobs they don't want to. And I think that, there's an Indeed that helps you get jobs. Maybe I'll make like the opposite of that, that helps you quit jobs, but it helps you do it in like a real manageable way where you can make money. Like people have families. It's not about just quitting. I think like that's one thing I don't love. I don't want to ever glorify quitting, but I want to glorify pivoting and doing it in a strategic manner. Kind of like that book said, like, what are you building in the background while
Hmm.
you're maybe not in the most in love with this thing, but what skills are you extrapolating from this thing that might be valuable for the next thing? So I essentially
Hmm.
want to build that bridge. And what does that look like? I have some ideas. But if I could help people find a job that they feel more called to do, or not even called to do, but enjoy doing and can support their family and friends, then I think that I will have lived a great life if I'm doing that in 5 to 10 years. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. And it goes back to, again, love what you do. I
Yeah.
mean, it's such a like a beaten pinata type phrase,
Hmm.
but there's a lot of truth behind it,
Yeah.
because if you chase money, you will be miserable. Maybe
Yeah.
not now, but you will be miserable. I've
Yeah.
seen it myself in my own growing up in a South Asian community. I know a lot of people that my parents were around that were physicians and business owners that hated what they did,
No.
and they burnt out, and they just they weren't good. Like, and I, in my head as a kid, I always questioned why. And I remember asking my dad at like 16 years old, and I'm like, Dad, what's going on here? And he's like, they just never loved what they do. And it's crappy. There were times in my life where I know my dad, this is a very, like, personal conversation. Me and my sister, and my little brother, we're very grateful for our father. He's a phenomenal clinician, but he could have taken a role as an administrator and like taken high paying jobs and all these things, because he would tell us as a family, like, hey, I can make this much.
Hmm.
But he said I wouldn't be happy. And it always struck me with the chord. And, even as I got older, I was like, I don't understand why, because it could have helped us pay our tuitions off more, or done this or done that. The man is just such a talented clinician. And that man works 6 to 7 days, and he's 63 or 64 now. I have never seen him get actually tired of the profession. He gets annoyed with it, just like we
Sure.
all do,
Yeah.
but I've never seen him like, I hate medicine. The man is like still printing out articles and using open evidence and like reading articles. I'm just like, dude, you are just a master of the game. Like,
Yeah.
you just love it. And he still teaches residents to this day. And when I was in residency, people used to come up to, oh, are you his son? And I'm like, yeah, I'm his son. It's like, dude, do you know how great of a clinician he is? He roasts us on like things I've never even heard of, like modern things. And I'm like, dude, that sounds like him. He's always got like a stack of like 25 freaking new articles, or he's on open evidence, or he even send me stuff. He's like, hey, did you read this article on dentistry? I'm just like,
Yeah.
no. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's cool. I was like, thanks, man. But like, I mean, I do it too, but I'm not at his level. And I'm just like, I think it's just seeing that passion and that, like, what I would
Curiosity.
say is that attention and that love he has for the craft. I think you never really get burnt out when you really truly love what you do. And it doesn't really matter what you make, as long as you know that you're doing your best every single day.
Percent. I mean, the reason you can sustain that kind of miraculous effort is because it energizes you. I mean, it's like Michael Jordan. Like people would say, like this looks like work to you guys, but it doesn't feel like that to me. It's never felt like that. And so that's really what it is, man. And for me, the system is flawed. It's very difficult for an 18-year-old to decide what they want to do for the rest of their life before your brain has even developed, before you've had the chance to experience different things. And so this is an upstream problem, but I want to figure out downstream solutions to help people do that, because how much better would the world be if everybody felt like that about their job? And I'm not like fantastical. I don't believe that we will ever live in a world where everybody feels like that. But if we can make more people feel like that, then the world is better. Economies grow, right? If it's
Hmm.
always about the bottom line for the world, so then like the people will make companies will make more money. You want the right people, and I think like I I can't. People call me unrealistic for myself, but like being unrealistic, it's taken me to great places in my life. And I don't think that I'm some extraordinary person. I really don't. I believe that I have two parents that love me so deeply that I've never had self doubt about what it is that I can do. But I do believe that, like, you know, it would be a shame if I didn't take that and try to help other people figure that out, because I think that people should love what they do. And I'm not saying that your life should be work. Some people literally just work a job to go home. That's beautiful. Let's just make that job a little more enjoyable then. Like, how much time do people spend complaining about their work? I mean, even in our industry, like within dentistry, how many people just sit there and complain all day? But if
All
you
the time.
ask them, what would you do if you weren't doing this? They don't know. They wouldn't have an answer. They would say, I'd
Yeah.
quit, but I don't know. So that's where I want to come in. Let's figure that out. Let's figure that
Yeah.
out so that we can figure out something, because every job has a skill set. Even if you strip the title away, a dentist is 100 things. A dentist
Yes.
is a consultant. You've got manual dexterity. You're a business acumen. There's everything. You're a therapist. And in the world where we're living, where degrees don't necessarily hold as much weight, I still think they're great. I think that people will be able to pivot, and if they're exceptional and work hard, there's nothing, you can find a bridge and do exactly what that book was saying. Build something on the side while you get ready to go do that.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, like, we can't also, I want to add to that point, is that it's not that money is useless. You need to understand the bottom line. Like you were saying, like the scale of
100%.
economies. You need to chase money. That is to say that I only love my profession because I love it. That's also kind of silly. Should you chase money?
Very
You should a
silly.
little bit, because you've studied for 10, 15 years to get to that point. You should know what your value is worth.
Yeah,
You should chase it correctly and be uncomfortable with that change. And once you've earned a X amount of money, I think there's a crossroad between where you love the profession and where the money comes.
sure.
And that is the happy medium that people should aim for. Because on the one spectrum, you have people that are like, oh, you should only love the profession, the money doesn't matter, which, fine, sure, I can see the value. Then there's people that are just money hungry and they get burnt out. I think that there's a crossroad that we don't really talk about, just because either people don't want to talk about it or it's just taboo again. I'm not too sure, but there is a happy medium, because it's taken me a couple years to find it. And I know, okay, I've now discovered, now this is my personal thing, is I've discovered my personal value and how much I'm going to work for, but I've also found the love for that field. And I encourage everyone to find that happy medium between the two, because without money and without the love for the game, you will truly never be fulfilled, especially with you and me. I know most of our colleagues coming out of school with a high debt load,
Hmm.
most of us.
Yeah, no, I always tell people you should announce that you want money. I think
Yes.
it is so stupid. I don't know who has planted this terrible message that healthcare workers shouldn't want money. All my friends know I want money. Do not shy away from that. But how you get that money is your decision. Some people do it within the profession and they believe that it's through high ceiling procedures. Maybe it's seeing more patients. I mean, whatever your formula is, but you absolutely need money. If you're going to suffer, you need rewards. And no matter what it is, like even a job that you love, if your job's not paying you, even if you love it, you're going to start to hate it. So just like you said, happy medium. And yeah, I
That's
think
pretty
that's
much it. Yeah.
yeah.
That's kind of what I've realized in my couple of years. Anyways, Bonza, so we've talked about the craft and what you do. Now, how do you, I mean, and we also kind of touched on this second part of the podcast, but
Just pause. Going to pause this for 1 second. Sorry, my roommate's coming in. Are you good?
um
Go ahead. Yeah, you're good.
so basically the next part of the podcast I really want to talk about is, how do you keep yourself spiritually and physically, you've kind of touched on, but spiritually in check? How do you stay balanced with everything that's going on in your life?
Yeah, dude, for me, it's always been just about my family. I mean, I come from like a very close, immediate family. And, my family's very religious. And even me, like I'm Christian. Like this year for me has been a time where, I've been trying to kind of rekindle that relationship in terms of figuring out what that looks like in my life. But it's always just leaning on those people. I mean, I think no matter what it is, despite if it's I'm chasing something in dentistry, with media, like physically running, it's just kind of always just bringing it back to the core mission, which for me always is like my family members, right? It's at the core of why I do most of what I do. And so that's what grounds me. Like no matter how bad a day is or good a day is, I know that I have loving parents who raise me on specific values, and I have to kind of remind myself about those core principles so I don't stray from them. For me, that's number one. It's like doing things to provide value to people, but then also just bringing it home to my family and just being the person that they want me to be, like far outside of whatever monetary gain or value I can bring to the world. But That's what I would say.
Makes sense. So you talked about principles. How did you develop those core principles over the last couple of years? Like, what made you say, Bonsa, I gotta do these XYZ things to
Hmm.
build my foundation so that if I have a bad day, I can rely on that and still bounce back?
I mean, I still am developing it, man. I think even like I had this last year where I was realizing that my emotions were kind of fluctuating a lot. Like
Hmm.
for me, it's like I'm the most happy when I'm like super busy or when things are lined up to work on. But then I just found myself like super frustrated some days or super happy some days. And like even now, I'm still working on that, which is trying to figure out like what to ground myself in. And so it's a work in progress. Like it's not, I haven't developed them necessarily. But one thing that I'm trying to do now is remind myself of those things, like to
Hmm.
ground myself. Because, one thing that I often think about is like, no, like one terrible month can just take away 3 months of progress for you. And it's never worth it to try to grind it out through that. And during that time is when you should really pause and reflect. And I've had some periods like that. And I always land on the things, which is essentially like my family.
Hmm. Makes
But yeah,
sense.
you have to stray. So essentially what I'm saying is you have to fall and be frustrated and stray away from what you believe your core values to be to have a more
Yeah.
peace
Have
of
you
mind. Yeah.
had a chance to read Life and Work Principles by Ray Dalio?
Life and work. No, I don't think so. That sounds so familiar though. I haven't.
Read it.
Yeah.
You'll like it.
Really? Okay.
It'll
I'll
help
read
you
it.
as you
Life and work.
develop your core. I would say mine's established now over the last couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
but there are still some shaky parts I've realized, like as things have come up. But
Yeah.
I look at that book and Ray Dalio's life, and I'm like, that's how he developed that system because he also goes back and he developed a system over his like long life, and he would have like fallbacks or setbacks, and then he would go back and revisit those principles and edit them and adjust them essentially. So it's kind of
Exactly.
cool.
Yeah. No. So I'll absolutely read that because that's something that I need for sure. For sure.
Yeah. So another book I highly recommend. Now, Bonza, if there's one thing, like say a friend or someone on social media messages you, "Hey, Bonza, I'm going through a hard time." What advice would you have for them to develop the resilience to
Mm.
bounce back up and build their foundation so they get stronger? Like you've been through stuff, I've been through stuff. But say there's like a new dental student or someone, what would you be your one piece of advice for them?
Yeah. What would it be? I mean, for me, it's like, I think I always just try to think about, like, I kind of remove myself from the moment. Like, I do the whole, like, 3 year thing where I'm like, how insignificant or, like, how small will this thing be in 3 years? Not to, like, not to take away from the current moment, but to just realize that, like, in a couple years, like, one thing is guaranteed, I'll have another time where I'm feeling
Hmm.
whatever emotion that it is. Like, if somebody's feeling depressed or angry, like, it's gonna happen again,
Hmm.
and it's happened before. It's definitely happened before. And so there's evidence that you've overcome those things. And all you have to do is remind yourself that you've overcome those things. Those
Hmm.
things are going to come for you again. And you just have to build the resilience in this moment to just continue to push forward. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like those periods of whatever, silence or discomfort or anger or depression are really kind of powerful too, because they kind of remind you that like you're not invincible and that you're not on this never ending upward progression. And I think one thing for me that I try to do now is at least like pull from that time to have valuable things to say so I can be more empathetic, because we all know how
Hmm.
great it feels when you're on top of the world. And me, I can tend to get in a mode where I'm almost like everybody should feel like this. Like, why is everybody not this like angry or like excited about what they're working on or ambitious? And the reality is that for some people it's like they physically can't because they're going through things. So that's always a super healthy reminder to me that like this is the reality of life. And I think if you remind yourself that that beautiful time, it can become a beautiful time, then ultimately before you know it, you'll do one thing, you'll
Yeah.
wash the dishes, you'll do some laundry, you'll step outside, and you're accidentally right back to everything. But it's happened before, man. It'll happen again. Just you got to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just some wise words.
And
Very
empathy. I mean,
well,
seriously,
well
like
said.
empathy. It's the most powerful thing. And my sister and my mom are the most empathetic people in the world. And I credit them to the things that I feel. And I think those times are actually when I think about them the most, because I'm like, man, I know that if I told them I was feeling this way, they would take the time and they would really try to help me understand it. And whenever I get out of this, I hope I do the same for someone else. And then it's almost like this sense of responsibility to get out of this, to go do it for someone else. Because especially if you believe that you're someone that's on this earth to do great things. And if you're a dental student, you're probably somebody who's really hardworking and you've probably got a lot of ambition. So you should probably kind of remind yourself in that moment too, like, this is great. Like, this is a moment for me to build some muscle because I'll go back and I'll help somebody else.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Very good. Very well said. So I want to transition into the last part of the podcast,
Hmm.
Bonsa, and that's your roots. So you mentioned that you're a practicing Christian and all that, but it's more, this part of the podcast is more about you. Like, where did you grow up? How did you grow up? Did you face challenges while growing up? And how did it shape you to who you are today? So kind of like talk about you as a kid.
Yeah, man. I mean, for me, I mean, I'm Ethiopian. So I was born in Ethiopia. I moved to the States when I was 4 years old, and I was born to two wonderful, loving parents who decided that their hopes and dreams were far less important than the opportunities that me and my sister could potentially get. And so at the at the inception of my life, I have this gentle reminder that, like, two people immediately put them, me and my sister, before themselves. And during that time, my parents, they restarted their degrees. My dad was like he was like about to work for the United Nations. He was a very well respected veterinarian, and so was my mom. And I saw those people come to a country where they were walking around getting job applications in gas stations and just
Mm.
looking for work on their feet, as if they hadn't accomplished these great things from a country that they once lived in. And the humility that comes from that, and the grit to continue to work, and to maybe even work for people who are less qualified than you, but still just continue to do it. And so, I mean, even my childhood, I'm so privileged, man. Like, even despite all of that, despite my parents still starting over, they still made it a priority to make sure that me and my sister were comfortable, and we had food on our table, and we got a great education, and we did all those things. And so that's what it is, man. It's like I have that reminder all the time. Of course, like, there were things that happened along the way, personal things, family matters, but I just look back on it all and I'm just stunned that my parents were able to do that. And I know that there is nothing that I will ever encounter outside of losing them that will ever be harder than anything that they've had to endure, no matter what. Not dentistry, not a debt load, not a new profession, not a pivot, none of that. Like, life is incredibly easy compared to what they did. So yeah, that's, I mean, that's, I always go back to my family, man. I mean, most conversations, if you talk to me, just lead back to them, and that's not like because it's because it's the truth. It's because it's the truth.
Hey man, that's awesome. That's, I think we take family for granted. I really do. And I think maybe it's a little bit of westernization, a little bit of American culture, a little bit. Not that
Sure.
it's fully its fault, but I think that since the nuclear family or the advent of the nuclear family, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
history guy, by the way, so I might
Mm-hmm.
bore you a little bit here. I think the structure of the family life has shifted significantly, from the 60s, 70s. And there came a time where, when you and I were growing up in the 90s and maybe early 2000s, that family wasn't viewed the same way. But if you came from a family that was different culturally and came from abroad, you still had that value.
Yeah.
And I think that that missing piece is what can break or make someone successful.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's that's the thing. We come from different cultures, Am I muted? I'm not muted, am I? Can you hear me? Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, like, you're hitting on a great point. We come from different cultures where family is the priority, and maybe that's not necessarily the case, like, with even like with America, like, it's like, there are some countries where you live with your parents for long periods of time, but I
Yeah.
just think, like, man, if you're fortunate enough, because we are all not fortunate enough to have that relationship with our family. So I
Hmm.
always try to be empathetic too. I think about that, like, a lot of the security that I feel, a lot of the confidence that I feel, people never even had the opportunity to get. And it is
Correct.
my responsibility to love people like that, to approach people with kindness and understanding, because the reality is we all don't have that, man. So it's a beautiful thing, though. God, it's beautiful.
I wouldn't change it for the world. And the thing is, like, as much as I love the craft, I love going after money. If I didn't have family, I don't think I would have anything. If I look back,
And you have a wife, and what is your situation?
I will have a wife. Not this coming weekend, but the next Monday I fly out to go get married.
Oh,
Oh,
congratulations, man.
yeah, man, I appreciate it. It's definitely interesting. Like, the opportunity, I think, to get married and have a family, I think, is an honor and a blessing that, I mean, a lot of people just kind of take it for granted, or just don't have the opportunity. So to be very frank, I'm very grateful for that, because I know I've
Good.
struggled too in the past. So and I think that creating your own family unit and setting your own rules for that family unit, obviously with your significant other, that itself is its own new chapter and blessing in life.
Man, well, if you plan on having children, you're going to be an amazing dad, man. I'm so fortunate that we met, because conversations like this are a healthy reminder. And to hear people like you talk about your journey and your intersection point, or, this platform is so powerful. Like, seriously, it's so powerful. And, I hope it's not lost on you that this is like got the chance to really impact somebody who's sitting where they're at. And I know that's why you do it, man. So once you transform that into a little human or whatever you plan to do, it's going to be amazing, man.
Yeah. And that's the thing, man. I hope it is, because like people ask me like, what's the purpose of the podcast? Do you intend it making you
Mm,
money or being famous? And I said, nope, I don't care about any of that.
yeah.
Doesn't matter to me. Because like dentistry is how I make money and do like other side things for other companies. That's this is more of like a passion project that, I kind of stumbled upon it.
Mm,
I was just kind of going through a really tough time, and I was just like, there's nothing out there to relate to the humanness of humans. Like, no
mm,
one knows what it feels like to be a human, I think, especially with social media, the advent of social media.
yeah.
And so I just wanted to hear people's stories and have people tell their stories. And I just hope that it grows organically through the understanding of people telling their stories. That's it.
Yeah.
It's nothing more than that. And if people can pick up a gold nugget, like I told you on our call, from there, from even one chapter, one story, then this to me is a great success.
What would you tell a dental student or anybody who's in a stage of their life where they are suffering and then they are going
Yeah.
through things?
Keep going. 2 words. Keep going. Because there will be many seasons in your life. And I think it's a Japanese proverb. Unfortunately, I mean, I am empathetic, but I think as I've gotten older, my empathy has started to drop just a hair. I'm honest about it.
Hmm.
And so I've become more logical, but I still have that feeling. So I understand people's emotions. So I don't try to cancel those out completely, but I will always give them with logical wisdom and knowledge. My wife has even told me sometimes I'm a robot, and I don't
Hmm.
mean to be. But the Japanese proverb is, even trees shed their leaves, right? And
Mm,
they end up growing new leaves. So this is
yeah.
just a season in your life that is a little tricky. It's going to be filled with storms, bacteria and fungus that are destroying your tree roots, right?
Mm,
It's okay, let it. But don't let it get to the point where it destroys your inner core, your inner seed, because even though a seed might lose all of its leaves and its stems and its branches, it can still grow with the right type of water, sunlight, and love.
mm.
And I think if you understand that, you will be successful, because you can be chopped down, you can go through hell, but you will always grow, and you will grow stronger and better.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, man. I always love like references to nature, because it's like it's the greatest testament of like it's something that happens and it's overcome. And
Yeah.
nature does it. It sheds, it regrows, and it's like we follow the same path. So that is beautiful, man.
Yeah, I think we get caught up in technology, man, and sometimes it's just important to go out in the world and just sit still with nature. That's it. Just sit in your backyard, get up early if you can. If that's not your thing, then maybe at night just sit in stillness with nature. Because I think reflection and sitting still with what's going on around you, especially with Mother Nature, it opens up a lot of perspectives and how to approach on.
It's biologically changes you. There's a release of chemicals that happen when you step
Mhm.
outside. I think that's one thing that I have to remind myself on days when I just want to stay in the house and work. But also, I try to tell other people it's like looking at that green really does something internally.
It
It's
does.
physiological.
Have you ever, I know New York City kind of sometimes lacks green spaces, sometimes, but there are two places I highly recommend for you if you ever get a chance. One is, if you've ever been to like Stuyvesant Town, like the park, like the
Mm.
internal parks. Anyone can go visit. Like it's like
Stuytown?
Stuytown, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. One of my close friends lives there. It's
Yeah,
so
dude,
green.
if
It
you
looks like
ever,
a little campus. It's the
yeah,
greenest
if you
place.
if you ever just, even if you're not a resident, I lived there for all my time entirely in New York because I love the nature part. But if you just sit there early morning, like 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning, the dew's just coming up, the sun's rising. You just go sit in the benches over there. It is the most peaceful thing in the city you'll ever run into. I
Yeah.
promise you. Try it one day and then shoot me a text that you're doing it, because it will change how you think.
No, I'm gonna do it, bro. I've been there for a little bit. I even toured an apartment there at some point, but I'll do it.
You should
Central
try it.
Park too. Central Park, Prospect Park. I live in Brooklyn Heights too area, so like I have like forced. I have like a bunch of stuff around me. It's
Oh, you got
very
like
green.
Brooklyn Botanical and all that.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
green
you're
here.
good. Yeah. I mean, I lived in Manhattan, so it's a little bit harder. The concrete jungle. No, Brooklyn's very pretty. It's very gentrified now. I remember
Yeah,
even during my time, it was really,
it's
really
even
getting
more
there.
now.
But
It's even more now.
it's even more now. That's crazy. No, I gotta go visit. My sister's actually at NYU, at Ortho, so I gotta go
Oh
visit.
no, definitely.
But before we head off, Bonsa, a couple of about my last three questions I ask people. But what's one piece of advice or wisdom that you got from your parents, your mother and your father, that you'll take to the grave?
Yeah, I mean my mom's just simple. It's be kind.
Mm.
I mean, be godly, if anything, honestly, be godly, which is all those things, encompasses all the things. Yeah, and my dad's is just, it's just, if you're, my dad's thing always was, if you're going to do something, just do it right. It would anger him
Mm.
when I started the dishes and I wouldn't finish, or if I would start folding clothes and I wouldn't finish. Just don't start it if you're not going to finish it. That's who my dad is.
Very good. My next question is, when you die, because we all die, what do you want it to say on your gravestone?
I don't know, honestly. Like if you want that, I think that will change. But right now, it's like just relentless. I mean, it's like a selfish thing, and that's the era of
Hmm.
my life that I'm in right now. So I'm sure that it will be much more profound once I've done the things that I want to do. But for right now, I'm not necessarily. I think it's a little inward facing. It's just I have a lot of work to do.
Hey, man, that's to be honest and say that, that's huge. And then my last rapid fire question for you is, who is Bonsa in one word? I know you said relentless, but something different.
Curious,
Curious.
curious.
Why?
I'm like my father. I want to know everything about everything. And
Mm.
it's sometimes it aligns really well and it works out, kind of like it did with content. Sometimes it's like with dentistry and it's enjoyable, but it's not the thing. And there's going to be another thing. But I'm curious above all else. Yeah.
Fair.
That's who I am.
Have you read Steve Jobs' autobiography?
I have, yeah, I've watched the movie too.
That's what I was gonna say. He talks about it pretty often, so just stay curious. That's it.
100%. Don't try to connect the dots looking forward. Just do what's interesting in the moment and it all makes sense.
That's it. Hi, Bonsa. I don't want to take up any more time. Thank you so much, my friend, for being on another episode of Mind, Body, and Roots. So I really appreciate it, man.
My guy, thank you so much, man. And it's been a privilege. I hope this reaches whoever it needs to. And just, man, this is beautiful. This is what it's about.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
absolutely. Hey, absolutely. And to everyone listening, thank you so much for another episode of Mind, Body, and Roots. Until next time, be well, my friends.
Peace.